one box, how it actually works, but whenever it actually hardens, you can't shape with that tool. You just simply have to sand the high areas down. And that's what I'm going to start doing here. And this is the hardest part of building any box, is just the sanding. There's quite a bit of sanding, especially if you want to paint. I'm not actually going to paint this one, but I'll take a few extra steps in this, more than I would, if you're just covering this in carpet. You could go ahead and sand these high areas down and cover it, depending on how high the pile of the carpet is. Really good carpet though, really good box carpet's gonna cover pretty much anything. I really like the painted look though. I don't cover much stuff in carpet. Just do a little fast motion here for you so you can kind of see it take shape a little better. Okay, now that we're done, we've got some pits. Everything's pretty uniform, but we got little dots, maybe some nicks, some things you may want to fill in. Again, carpet's going to cover any of that, but I'm just going to, take our first part, look at it, see if everything's matching up, get somewhere near the same size. Now this stuff right here is actually Bondo and resin, and a lot of people call it Mung, M-U-N-G. And it's basically just a runny Bondo. It's good for filling in little holes and things like that. And you can use either the hardener from the resin or the hardener from the Bondo. I usually do the Bondo resin just for the color, or the hardener just so I can see the color of it change. Make sure it's mixed well. Then you can just dot it on there, put it in any of the spots you need to make a little fill into. There's other stuff for this, but this is kind of a homemade remedy for it. And the easiest way to do this is just use 2-part Bondo, 1-part resin of the fiberglass resin. It's the easiest way to do it. And you can get different consistencies with it by adding more Bondo, make it a little thicker, or less Bondo, make it a little more runny if you like. You can actually mix this stuff and pour it over the entire thing. I don't really like to do that though. It gets messy, and it puts a pretty thick shell on it, makes it a little bit bigger, so parts usually don't fit back in as well. Whenever it's dried, go ahead and hand sand this one. Don't go at it full blast with a mechanical sander. It's a little tougher to sand though. Just keep that in mind because it does have resin in it. Resin's a lot harder to sand than Bondo. Now we've got our part made up. We've got the Mung in there, covering up any little bitty holes or anything. Now we're going to want to cut out this center part. And what I'm going to do is actually use a router bit. I'm just going to drill a few pilot holes here first. Check to see if it fits. If it doesn't, drill a few more. Just widen out this hole. Doesn't really matter. Make sure you don't press too entirely hard on the drill though. You don't want to fly through the back end of this thing. So now I've got my fit, and this is just a flush trim bit. It's got the little ball bearing on it. It's a straight edged router bit. Just put it inside of your drill and follow that router along the edge of that MDF ring inside, and it'll cut it off flush. Turn it here so you can see. See, it just follows along the inside of that MDF ring. Now I'm gonna open this up, pull out my supports. You can see we got a good uniform shape on the inside. Place the speaker in there, check for fitment. It's good if it's a tight fit. and it is. Then we'll toss our grill guard on there, see how it all looks, check the gaps around the grill guard, make sure everything looks good. If it doesn't, you can shave a little bit of material away from that MDF ring. But everything's good, so we'll go ahead and cut the rest of this back stuff off here. Cut as close as we can get. And what I'm using here, I know I've said before, but it's a carpet knife. Carpet knives are great. They're double-sided, not like a normal just razor blade, and they're very, very sharp. They kind of have those square rectangle size blades in them. And here I've gone outside and I've put this thing into the car to check, its fit. And this little front bump here needs to be taken off. And I kind of marked it outside just to get a general idea, but now I'm going to go ahead and draw on here to take it off. And you need to do this on any part of it, because a lot of times when you copy these things you don't get a lot of the little bitty details, little dents and things like that that are in the original part that you need to cut out or take off or add to, what have you. But this is the stage that you're going to do that. And I've just got a Dremel tool here with a little cutting wheel on it. You could do this with a hacksaw, an angle grinder. You could even do it with a chop saw. Dremel's probably your easiest bet though if you have one. But I'll go ahead and take this bottom piece out. Then there's another small section up top that I've marked off just to go over the weather sealing inside the door of the car, how this thing fits in, goes over it. So cut that little section out so it can sit into it right. Now I'm going to cut the carpet for it. Just use your straight edge, your carpet knife, and go ahead and take your tack cloth. Wipe this thing off pretty good. Make sure you don't have any powder or anything left over from the Bondo. Now we're going to go ahead and spray this whole thing down with our adhesive spray. Make sure you get some pretty good coverage, especially on the first area you're going to cover up. You can wait to spray the rest of it, just get maybe half of it with a good amount of adhesive spray. Line everything up right, so make sure you're going to get